It's a study that we started about 4 years ago. It's a long-term study, and what we're interested in evaluating in this study is how low can we push the nitrogen rate and still have acceptable zoysia grass quality. So what's really driving this study is that overall emphasis that we're seeing across many sectors of the industry and even the regulatory community, minimizing nitrogen inputs into turf systems or fertilizers in general. So that's really the motivation behind conducting this particular study. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the traditional zoysia grass variety used in Maryland, which is Meyer, a couple of the newer seeded varieties, and then one of the finer textured intraspecific varieties called Emerald. And what we're doing is we're looking at nitrogen rates from 0 to 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet a year. We're measuring clipping weights and looking at the overall color over the course of the year. Again, we're in year 3 of this particular study, and it's a long-term study, so we'll be going at least 5 years with it. In terms of some of the things we found through the first 3 years of the study, are if you look at the different zoysia grass cultivars, the 4 different ones that we're looking at in this study, is that they really don't respond that much differently to the application of nitrogen, with the exception of one particular species early in the growing season. And the one species that tends to behave a little differently is emerald zoysia grass. This particular species responds negatively to nitrogen early in the spring, and the negative response is almost wholly due to the occurrence of large patch within this particular cultivar. What happens is that as you boost the nitrogen rate up, you get a greater severity of this particular disease, and that results in more blighting within the plot, so you're collecting less clippings. And it takes about 2 months to come out of that at the high nitrogen rates, about a month at the lower rates of nitrogen. So by this time in July, you can see it's pretty much gone. But May and June, it's pretty bad within the emerald zoysia grass plots. If we look at the overall amounts of nitrogen, what we see is if you compare the 1 pound rate with the 2 and the 3 pound rates, is that in terms of the amount of clippings that are produced during the time of year where the timings are very similar for the 3 different rates of the nitrogen being applied, is that there's not a whole lot of difference in the amount of clippings that are produced. In fact, if you compare the 1 pound rate to the 0 pound rate, it's slightly less at the 1 pound rate in terms of amount of clippings that are collected early in the summer than at the 0 pound rate. And at the 2 pound rate, it's slightly more, maybe 105% at the 2 pound rate and about 95 or 96% at the 1 pound rate. So they're very close, and what's this really telling us, at least in year 3 of the study, is in terms of density, in terms of the amount of clippings that produce, very similar at no nitrogen versus 1 or 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. And if you pan back out to that 4th plot there, you get a good view of the slight chlorotic color or pale color associated with the low nitrogen rate. But that's it in terms of amount of biomass or clippings produced. It's pretty close to what you'd find at 1 and 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So at this point it looks pretty promising going forward, that, you know, in terms of going down to almost a no nitrogen fertility scheme, that zoysia grass is going to be able to handle that pretty well.